your values change, and what attracts you changes as you get older. And also, new things come out. And if I think like any human being is attracted to something new, and production's just this new, like, when I discovered, like, to me, when I started producing, it felt like a discovery because it felt so unbounded.
Bienvenidas, bienvenidos a Canciones a Granel Podcast, sobreviviendo en el mundo de la música. Aquí los invitados son productores, songwriters y artistas, y los ejecutivos top de la industria de la música. Para que no te agarren desprevenido y puedas aprender todo lo que a mí me hubiera gustado saber antes de haber empezado. Pero también lo que debes saber si ya empezaste. Hello, I'm glad to introduce you to my friend Aditya, a.k.a. Ego Sound, Ego Mix. Ego is a mix master engineer and producer from California, as well as a very good songwriter. In this episode, we talked about the current Californian context, moving from California to Denver, why some people are thriving in LA, and the reason why people move around so much in the USA. We also had a chat about the American dream, letting go of certain creative things, studying in Columbia College, Chicago, about VR, his Indian roots, spirituality, TikTok, the current sellout mentality, among many, many other things. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Well, first I wanted to ask you, why did you actually go to Denver?
To Denver?
Yeah.
So I used to live in Colorado when I was younger. I used to live here from early middle school to early high school. So from sixth to freshman year of high school. And then I moved from there to San Jose, California. And I like Colorado. I like the values over here. I like the way people kind of talk to you. It's more the Midwest is just nicer. Like some might say it's fake nice, but in California it was getting really dismissive.
What does dismissive mean?
Dismissive in that when you talk to someone before COVID, in California there was just a disconnect. Like you're talking to some cashier and they're doing their own thing. There's not too much like engagement, like eye contact. Okay. So it just felt like with COVID, on top of just that mentality, people are very just very, what's a good word to replace dismissive? Very, they block you a lot. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So the interactions are a lot less nice. And so what that does over time is that gets you to interact a little less nicely to people. And then it puts you in this state of the world feeling less, nice. So California, like one big thing I'm realizing when I left is a lot of people are framing it as if California is post-apocalyptic. Everyone's fleeing, and that's what they're kind of like Joe Rogan, for example. He's been saying that because he left California and he moved to Texas.
Oh, really?
From LA. And California's not doing good. It's not doing, I think it's doing just as bad as anywhere else, but the mindset, like there's this underlying panic tone in California that everyone's feeling. And I think it had to do with the fires. Like everybody's a little more anxious. Like on top of the news and on top of the election and everything, like everybody, there's just this underlying tone of anxiety in California. And we all are in our own bubbles. So that could be just my experience.
Of course, yeah.
So it's like, because my parents are fine. Like, like we're all doing okay. We're like financially, we're lucky. So it's not so bad. But if I were to complain, it would be the mental health of myself and my friends. And like, what everybody's kind of facing with the fires and then the constant things every single week.
Yeah, you know what? When I went to, I don't know if this is like a general California thing, or I'll just tell you my experience. When I went to LA for the first time, it was about 6 years ago, and I liked it. I mean, I liked the cool places you can go there, good food, and so on. But I also noticed, and I don't know if you would agree with me, that many people are very like fake. Like I don't know, like trying to be something that they're really not, or something like that.
Yeah. That's a lot of what LA is kind of at its core is the entertainment industry, which is built on a lot of like fake acting, really. But then the shift happened, I think, when social media started. I think it was this year. I think when social media started getting really authentic, and people wanted to have more authentic. They wanted to follow more authentic people with more messages, and so it kind of changed the shift from this glamorous fake California thing to whoever's authentic. That's why Joe Rogan is so popular, for example, is he's just this guy. That's why a lot of people are popular now these days, is they're just themselves. So that the California fakeness was already kind of shaky. It was already like slowly crumbling. And then when COVID hit, things are serious now. So no one really cares if you could do this TikTok challenge anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so LA, if this was like, if this time is very like weirdly religious, spiritual, biblical, whatever you may see it. But California is facing like exactly what they've kind of pushed off for a really long time. Like people are now having to like kind of get to know their community more, or they should be. That's a lot more important when natural disasters start happening.
Of course.
People need to know. People need to get more in touch with their families. Smaller groups, less events. The less partying. Like all of that stuff's kind of going down. So what's coming up is hopefully better values. I think like in terms of the fires this year, they were hitting the Bay Area a little bit more.
Yeah, I noticed.
And the Bay Area is, the way I see California is there's LA and then the Bay Area. And obviously there's a lot of California, but like the two hubs are LA and the Bay Area and San Francisco, Oakland, that area. And LA is the entertainment industry, and it's got that kind of vibe where there's a lot of fakeness, and there's a lot of fake health trends, and everybody's into this thing, and it's always trendy, and the Bay Area has got a lot of consumer trends. A lot of people, because it's tech, everybody spends money on the newest tech. It's all like Teslas everywhere. So the Bay Area is facing the greatest consumer threat of all, your house burning down and you losing everything you own.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And that's like, to some people, that's like a lot of people are kind of like going over what they value for the first time in a long time again. Like they have to reface these demons that they've been pushing off for a long time. So overall, I think it's a good thing, even though it's crazy right now. But yeah.
And are you planning to stay like for a long time in Denver?
In Denver, the original plan. So this was all kind of like totally winged, totally last minute.
Okay. Yeah.
But the original plan was my Airbnb was from the beginning of October to November, like 1st.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that Airbnb. which is a funny story, but yeah, it's like the classic, like it just wasn't meant for me. So I moved out of there and I found a cooler spot with a cool roommate. Nice. And I'm here. I started on the 10th of October, and I have a month here, so till November 10th. But I'm also kind of like being seduced by the city, and I don't know if I want. My gut is telling me I want to live here, but I know for a fact I want to live in Colorado at some point in my life. I just imagined it as a little bit of an older time. Or as I'm older. That's a better way to say that. But yeah, because times are so different now, Denver is like a pretty good city. Like it's economically doing really well in comparison to a lot of other cities, which leaves more opportunities for myself out there. There's more. I think Denver will be one of the nice thing about Colorado is they're swing state. So they're cautious. They're not going to be the first ones to open up, but they're definitely not going to be the last ones to open up. So when events start needing to pop up again, I think Colorado will be one of the more I don't say early, but more in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for me as an entertainer in this industry, I need to be around that to like keep it going, So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what the answer. Like I might, and also the election, man. Like
when is it in November?
November 3rd. But then there's like counting of. They have to count the ballots because a lot of people are voting by mail. So apparently it might take up to a month. Don't quote me on that. I don't know actually, but I just heard that today from a friend. So I think either way, whatever that turns out to be, it's going to be an interesting time for the country. And that's another factor to like just consider in the back of my head about Denver, just something to keep in mind because, just something to keep in mind.
Of course.
The demographic is all white here too. So that's something to keep in mind, So it's a very white city.
Because I remember you sometime posted something on Instagram about maybe going to LA or something like that.
Yeah.
So was that like your original plan, and then you had let's go to Denver?
Yeah. I don't remember when I posted that, but the original plan with me and my friend before COVID hit was we were going to finish our last semesters in school and then move to LA around September of this year. And then COVID hit and schools closed down, and then he moved to one place and I moved to my parents' place, and all of this stuff started happening. And then we looked at LA and it's like, okay, maybe, maybe there's potential there, but it's not doing great. But I mean, I also have some friends that are like are making some big moves in LA right now, and they're doing well. So I can't say it's like down and it's like never coming back or there isn't an art scene, because there definitely is a huge scene over there. But to me, LA is kind of built off of live performance and live events and stuff like that. So the argument for some people is just like the stock market. When it goes down, you go buy a bunch, and then when it goes up, you're rich. So a lot of my friends are thinking like, go to LA now, build your thing there, and then when it comes back up, you'll be well adjusted and like have a foundation in LA. Which is that's an interesting method. I don't know if I'm down for that.
Like in terms of, do they mean like in terms of building? I don't know if they are musicians or what they do, but do they mean like composing a lot of music and producing a lot of music, and then when everything opens up, go out and post it and go and play live, or what do they mean by that?
So multiple. So I have a couple cool friends that are doing some stuff. So one of them has built like a second studio since like COVID over there. Uh-huh. I think this one is his own. He's like helped someone else on the first one. Okay. And so when you build a studio, you automatically build a network of clients just because you have a spot to record. And if you just, put yourself out there enough, people will be attracted to it. You also have to be cool with like your chance of getting COVID if you do that kind of thing. Yeah. That's another crazy thing. But yeah, so they're building their network. And other ways to go about it. Like I have another friend that him and his girlfriend just moved to a place out there. And they have a house with like a big yard. And when things start opening up, they're going to turn it into like a little event space. Nice. Just like in Chicago, there was those like DIY house spots that were just like, you'd shove so many people. It was totally illegal, completely illegal. Like in terms of like fire hazard and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's like, that's the people that run those DIY spots. They are tapped into the network and can find people like that, right? Like if you have a DIY spot, 6 bands that want to play like that day. And then you also know like 3 guitarists, and you helped like 6 of them out. So they're willing to help you out on this album. And so you just create this like giant network of people that can be physically around you. And that's the goal of just like a lot of the people that I know that are going to a city and building, is they go there and then they create a network from there. And they usually know some people already and that kind of thing. So that's definitely a nice approach. I personally would never build a studio unless it's like in my house for myself. Yeah. But like the investing in like a property, like no, that's a lot of that's high risk. And and I like to travel, I like to move, so it's like it's like getting a dog. I can't do it yet, I can't do it yet.
Yes. And speaking about traveling and moving around, I think, well, I don't know why, but I've noticed that like the American culture in the USA, a lot of people tend to move from place to place. Say they come from Texas and they end up starting in Florida, or they end up in New York or somewhere else, and they keep on moving and switching cities. Why do you think that is like that? Because here in Mexico, it's more usual that you stay in your hometown, or you maybe move to a slightly bigger city in the same state. But why do you think it's like there's such movement over there?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it might have to do with colleges. It might have to do with just that mindset of like colleges kind of bring people to different areas. Because I know in India, for example, there's quite a bit of moving nowadays, especially because of colleges. Okay. I think like even because what happens is a college creates a hub, and then a hub creates like a city or like a new tech area. Okay. And then tech. That's honestly probably the real answer to that question is tech. Just they like to create hubs. So Houston is a big hub right now. And like Portland's a bigger hub right now, and the Bay Area was like the first hub. Yeah. And what that does is it plays off of immigration a lot, which America is built off of, right? Mm-hmm. And that might be a lot of it too, is America is built off of immigration. So the mindset here is a lot of people come here to do something bigger than themselves, or they'd like it to be. And it just encourages, I think that's part of the American dream, is just going somewhere and building something bigger than yourself, Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, that I've never really thought about it like that. I've just kind of lived life like this.
Yeah, it's something I've noticed, like since I I don't know, since I remember like interacting with people from the US, because it's something like really big over there. And I don't know if in other countries, I mean, you say in India, it's kind of like that right now. But, you know, I think it also has to do with...
Why did you move? Why did you move out of to Chicago for that time?
You know why? Because I thought that musical education in Mexico was shit, which is not, and I realized that later.
I understand that.
I actually realized that like musical education is the same all over the world. Like it's the same foundation, same theory, same notes. You know, it's the same. And I wanted, you know, to be in a school that was, you know, like an international school somewhere else, not in Mexico, and that's why I decided to go there. I was there for a year, and then I realized it was like really not my culture. I guess like I didn't feel like I fit in there. I really felt a bit lonely, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's why I came back.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it's that school wasn't for everybody. I left early too, as you know.
Yeah.
And transferred to SAE in which is close to where I came from originally. So similar story, because I was like, you can't get a good music degree in this area of California.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe depends on what you're going for, I guess. But what Columbia did for me is it introduced me to people, and it introduced me to a business side of things that I probably wouldn't have automatically tapped into.
Like what?
Like, and maybe this could have had to do with the times too, because we did start around 2015. But music became more than just music. It became about marketing and social media, and it became about like branding, and like I never had thought about that in like high school, and also, and more than just all of that, it became about delegating and kind of, you know, sending your work to different people and having people do different parts for you. And there were people for your marketing, and there were people for your like visual design, and that I really liked, because it kind of taught you to just like, at least personally, it taught me to just stop trying to do everything. Just hand it off to someone that could do so much better. You know, that's how I always feel these days. Because the one thing you're letting go of when you do that is your ego, or the one thing you're letting go of when you do that is your pride. You know, but that's it. You don't lose any. The music sounds better. You know, the visuals come out better. That's why with my visual people, I give so little input. You know, I'm just like, whatever you think this should look like.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, like Chicago really taught me that kind of thing. But I really didn't like how that school taught production or audio.
Okay. How was it? Because I never got to go to a class of production.
I haven't been to a class of production. I just didn't like how the producers were producing.
Okay.
No, from what I kind of got, they were still very old school, and production's constantly changing each year. Yeah. So it's hard to like create a curriculum for that, and I understand, but they were teaching like they were still like board focused, you know, for example, like where they were focusing on mixing boards for like the majority of the program, which doesn't make sense, you know, in a time like now, because you don't even need a mixing board anymore. Yeah. So I think, and I might have caught them at the bad time. That's another possibility, because the shift happened like around 2018, 2017, okay. Right? When there was a point where I think I think we can easily say less people nowadays pick up an instrument, and they're more likely to pick up like a new software like FL or Logic or something, rather than picking up a new instrument. I think it's less common, at least out here.
Yeah.
And I think that shift happened around 2017.
Okay.
It's like when you realize like, oh, I could do this on my computer, and it's like kind of easy to get started, you know?
Yeah.
It feels good, you know? So it's like,
So when did you transfer?
It attracted a lot of people. I transferred 2018. I transferred the summer of 2018, and I graduated last week.
Wow! Congrats!
Thanks, man.
Nice.
Online graduation, super. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, man. Nice. It didn't really feel like I graduated.
I get you.
It was to me, what that was just a giant, that was a giant space where I could use the equipment that I finally could like mess around with, that Columbia didn't really have. That was another thing, is Columbia didn't have any recording equipment.
Really?
Like not as much as they should if they're teaching an audio program.
Because they had like one studio, right? Or two, maybe?
They had 2 studios, yeah. This place I'm going to, which is cheaper, by the way, or I was going to, and they didn't have dorms. They didn't have, this is like what's a good way to describe it? It felt like a community college in terms of community because no one's living there. But the facilities, they had like, I don't know, they had like 25 studios at least.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, okay, a good way to actually put this in perspective though is like maybe there was 5 of them that were like music studios where you bring in like a vocalist and there'd be a nice booth, but they had boards to use. You can mix wherever you want. That's nice. Even though that school's having their own problems since COVID and not doing well. And to me, that was a big leap because finally I had the equipment to kind of put me in a mindset to understand and approach this industry more. And then on top of that, the teachers were dope. And so I would just go in and show my teachers my mixes, and they would just be like, I like this, I don't like this. And that's really how I learned for a majority of it.
Yeah. And when did you, because I remember, I think you were in the contemporary urban and popular music program, right? And we were in a couple of classes together, and when did you realize that your thing was like more on the production, mixing, mastering side than on the more, cup program side? Classic.
Yeah. You know what? After freshman year, that summer I went home, and my friend Alex actually, who's he was pretty into producing at the time, but he told me get Logic, and like 2 months later he decided he hates Logic, but he's all Ableton and Pro Tools now. But but at that moment, like that brief period of time, he was like, get Logic, it's great. And so I got it, and I love Logic. Logic's, in my opinion, this is such a stupid conversation, but Logic is the best one. But so I think what happened was I always kind of realized that like musically I was more about arrangement, and I was always big picture. I was always big picture musically, and that's why like really specific like practice these scales for a really long time would just fucking kill me. That would be so much, and it's such a stuck up thing to say, is like I don't want to learn that. If I spent more time on that, it would definitely help me, for sure. But I'm also glad on what I chose to do and like what parts of music I leaned into.
Of course.
But the switch was like, I went in Colombia from like writing songs to like I got into hip hop, and I was like, I like this kind of vibe. I love drums. I should kind of lean into this more. And so I did, and I really ended up liking it, and I stopped playing guitar as much. And not even in a bad way. I was just captivated by other stuff. And then now I'm at a point where I have guitarists that are better than me, and I just send them my stuff. And I have a piano player that's better than me. Send them my stuff, and I barely do anything. I'm kidding. That's a joke, but you get my point.
Yeah. I think I feel something similar to you, because I think last year on 2018, I realized that I liked a lot, like, making the songs. It's like, like composition, classical composition, right? Like orchestration and arrangement, and and the orchestra and the violins and each section. I studied, like, in university, I ended up studying that aspect of music. But then I realized, when I wrote my first, like, song that came out, that I liked to apply that, but into the logic and all, the DAWs and
the production aspect.
Production.
Of things. Okay.
So and I also stopped playing too much the piano. I still play, but not as much. And I how do you say this? I feel, I feel similar to
you. Your values change, and what attracts you changes as you get older. And also, new things come out. And if I think, like, any human being is attracted to something new, and production's just this new, like, when I discovered, like, to me, when I started producing, it felt like a discovery, because it felt so unbounded. Versus, like, guitar and singing, or like piano, you're limited to some degree. With production, you're so unbounded. And then now, what's been freaking me out is I tried VR for the first time. Have you tried VR
in production?
No, not musically at all. Just like complete tangent, but
like with the visor and.
Yep.
I think sometime. Yeah, I did. I played a game once.
Okay. Have you tried the drawing game by chance?
No.
Okay. You should try it if you ever get the chance.
Okay.
Like, there's a mode on this drawing game where the paint brushes will sync up to your music.
Oh.
Yeah, so they'll bounce like a waveform.
Okay.
Yeah, and, like, as soon as I saw that, that is a little bit more primitive right now. They haven't, like, really made much of the music part of things. The drawing is amazing. It's so fun being able to draw in 3D space and, like, walk around it.
Wow.
Like, it's amazing. You could literally, like, if you have a warehouse, for example, you could map out the warehouse and just draw and run around and, like, just paint in midair, and it's an unbounded. Like, it hit me in a similar way as when I first tried to produce. I was like, damn, this is like a completely new art form that's so unbounded.
Yeah.
And we don't even know where this is going to go. It's so open-ended, for the better and for the worse. But, like, what are you going to do? But musically, I'm trying to, like, look around for VR kind of just VR projects that may need an intern or something just to show up.
Okay.
But I think that's where I see myself in the late future, like, going into is VR for sure.
Like VR, like composing, like producing VR.
Yeah, because when you step into this, like, drawing space, you realize, like, oh shit, you could be experiencing art in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And music is already getting so visual. Like, everyone needs a music video, and like these days, very few people discover artists just with their music anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They like they like an Instagram profile to go with it, and a personality and a message. And it's kind of, I see it as a good thing, because if the message is good, it can really propagate more. You can spread a message more. But yeah, my point, what was my point? Oh, VR. I see that as the next frontier of just artistic experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard Amazon is starting to make this 3D audio immersive podcast or something like that. And
podcast?
Yeah, podcast, or these audio stories,
okay,
sort of like an audio series, but with 3D audio, and have the sounds move around and like that.
And it's so so one thing that's interesting on how our brain works when using VR is with light. Like when we look at my friend pointed out this beer bottle in this game, and you could hold it up to the sun, and you could hold it and let the sunlight pass through it, and you could see the line of water turn. Wow. These are the little things that really make your experience in VR so powerful.
Yeah.
But audio is weird, because in VR audio, is you realize how sub-perceptive things are, in that a lot of our experience auditorily, just as humans, goes so unnoticed. So when you change these audio things, when you change directional stuff, you can really mess with someone's brain, subconsciously, as opposed to visually, where you're this isn't real, but auditorily you're not thinking about, is this real? You're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's totally true. Wow.
That's why when something goes wrong in VR with visual, you immediately think, this isn't real. Okay. Yeah. But when something's wrong auditorily, you're what is happening? Is everything okay?
Yeah. So you're like the SpongeBob,
yeah. Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah. Yeah, so I hope that VR is the next frontier for myself.
That's a very, I think, a good frontier. I don't know. I think you have a good opportunity there. It's the new thing, It's the thing, the next
being
thing.
A VR artist, being able to convey your music visually in an experiential way. It could be as simple as just playing your music in the desert, you being in the desert lying down, but your music's playing through the headphones,
Wow.
Or seeing time change really fast in the desert, for example, seeing a community build or something while listening to your music video, and then the music being directional too, and be crazy. It's really a interesting field.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about music in general. Why did you start to making music? Were your parents artistic or musical or any sort of?
So I started making. When I was really young, my mom put me in piano lessons for a year, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
And this teacher sucked too, so it wasn't good. But it was very technical, and it was the classic piano lessons. Didn't like it, so I stayed away from music for a really long time, actually, until around 6th grade. I got a guitar teacher who was super inspirational, very friendly with kids. And I got really into guitar, and my mom is a painter.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Wow. Does she teach kids art? Yeah. Oh really? My mom does too.
Nice.
Yeah, my mom is an art teacher. Yeah, and we grew up painting a lot, but I think I realized that I like art at a young age, but I don't like being like, I don't like the judgment of my family on my art.
Okay.
So I decided American music, where they had no sort of real, like I could totally just be like, they don't know what they're talking about for a really long time.
Yeah.
And so that's what, like, I think that's where I got really attracted to guitar. And that's where it just all kind of started from there. But yeah, I didn't know your mom was a painter. That's crazy. What does your dad do?
My dad, he's a filmmaker.
Oh, dude, you're double art.
Yeah.
Damn, double art.
What does your dad do?
My dad is complete left-brained fiber optics engineer.
Okay. So Silicon Valley.
yeah, very much. Yeah.
Okay.
His company like works with Apple and stuff like that. So yeah. So it's got the very dualistic left brain, right brain kind of situation in my house where I grew up with both, and yeah.
And your family, are both your parents, or are you like you have Indian roots, right?
Yeah. We're both Indian. Yeah, both of them are Indian. Yeah.
And I mean, because I know you went to India like for quite a long time.
Yeah, I went to India for a month and a half. Yeah.
And do you, or have you ever used or have thought of using like those Indian roots or Indian
in my music,
rhythms in your music? The ragas.
Yes, I've thought of it. I feel like, South Indian music is so complex and so multi-layered, and there's so much like background knowledge, I think, to entering something like that. So for me, like as someone that's never really like taken a South Indian singing class, for example, it kind of, I've always kept a little bit of distance, intentionally or unintentionally growing up.
Yeah.
But then as I get older, now I'm like, I've been sampling little things and throwing them into my production. I do think that there's going to be a project at some point in my future where it's like, I lean super into my roots.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, the way I grew up, like musically, it was super diverse. Like I listened to a lot of Michael Jackson, Backstreet Boys growing up. And then I got into John Mayer for a bit, and I got into like, and then I got into like Chance the Rapper, and like I had like everything from everywhere. But yeah, there will definitely be a time when I lean into my roots, but I'm making that a very conscious decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the worst thing the thing I don't want to do is, and this happens a lot in America, is like, especially these days, is people are leaning into like their cultural backgrounds for like internet clout right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Purely like, oh man, I'm on a podcast, so I don't know how shit talky I can get, but it's so much. It's like to a point where it's like, yeah, a lot of people are just leaning super into their, my example, Indianness for the sake of social media, because it's kind of a hot topic right now.
Okay.
Versus there are obviously some artists that really talk about deep issues, deep cultural issues, or even just like well understood musical knowledge that gets woven into like music here. Like that's all great. But really, I'm just trying not to be shallow.
Okay. Yeah. It's understandable.
You know? So, yeah.
And what was like, had you been there before? Was it your first time or?
No, I've been there. Yeah. We went to India. I've been to India probably around 10 times at least in my life.
Nice. So you are, it's like a regular thing.
But the most recent, since college since college once. That was the first time since since Colombia, like since I met you, that was the first time I've been to India. So we would go regularly when we were younger, almost every other year.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you still have family there, I guess?
Yeah. All of our families in India. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a very similar culture to Mexico in some aspects. You know, they're very, I think they're very religious over there. Here, people in Mexico, they are very religious too. But you know, in India, you have like this mix of Hinduism and Catholicism, and Muslim,
and like Protestant, Christian, Muslim,
And here's like Catholic, and a bit Christian.
Yeah.
It's
nice. And we're from in India and Kerala, which is funny because you were asking about like, are both my parents Indian? So I took the 23andMe test. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
How was it?
Dude, it was so disappointing. The whole map, you know how the whole map is like, it's supposed to be like a bunch of dots and like, you're 2% Asian. You didn't know that. Whoa. You're 2% Vietnamese, you know? But like, it was literally this tiny spot in India. It nailed me down to my like region, and it said you're 100% from there. Like, God damn. I mean, it's interesting, you know, like I'm a purebred.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, and actually it's also cool to know like you are like from a very emblematic place.
Yeah. Kerala is also, it's got its own reputation for sure, especially for being it's the Ayurvedic capital of India too. Or not capital, that's not a good way to, it's the Ayurvedic what's the word I'm looking for? Hub of India. Like a lot of Ayurvedic doctors will go all the way to Kerala to learn like ancient medicine and stuff like that from there.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And do you, well, I don't know if I'm getting too much into personal stuff, but do you practice like some religion or something, or not really?
Religiously, no. I love yoga. I don't think that doesn't count though. No, I don't really. My mom is very religious. Like my mom, we grew up Hindu for sure.
Okay.
But my dad, so my mom being the right-brained person, like cries at temple type person. And my dad is like stoic. He only shows up because my mom's coming. My mom makes us. That's the kind of, so we always were, like me and my brother were always given the opportunity to be like my mom or like my dad. And so we both kind of leaned into just like less religious. Though these are very biblical, spiritual times. Not biblical, like it's very spiritual times in general. Yeah. So I think we're all kind of leaning into like that part of our personality a little bit more. But yeah, I don't practice religion too much.
But this will be me assuming something, you know, but I think you're quite spiritual rather than religious, no?
Yeah.
For when I met you, I don't know if this is like my way of thinking, but when I first met you in Chicago, I vibe with people, no? And when I met you, I was like, oh, this guy is cool. Like he's in some other like symphony, if you know what I mean.
Oh, that's nice. I appreciate that. I try. Spirituality really got woven more into my life later, like around the last 2-3 years. Because when bad stuff happens in your life, that's when you start like, you're like, okay, this is when I'm going to lean into this. And so for me, it was like going through my autoimmune issues and just dealing with my health problems that really kind of tied me into spirituality. And then what got weird was when the Ayurvedic, because I went to a lot of Ayurvedic doctors and stuff like that. I went to a lot of different doctors. Chinese medicine too. I tried everything. These are very spiritual, like the spiritual stuff is tied in with the science, like kind of surprisingly, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, it just kind of gets you to think in terms of that realm of like, for example, how much stress can play into your physical health, you know? That's kind of a spiritual topic like that. or the food you eat directly, creating sort of spiritual imbalances, if you will, that can create like health problems. So I think like for me, spirituality has just kind of been a way to manage my own. I'm also an existential kind of person, so like it helps kind of deal with that kind of thing and the existential dread of life, especially these days.
Yeah.
One I can't remember who it was, but I went to a party in Chicago, and it really just the word. One guy said to me, "Lean into the unknown," and that like shifted my whole thinking, because the craziness of what's going on is it's all unknown, and we don't know what's going to happen, and we realize how fast things can change. So just kind of leaning confidently into the unknown, and that ties in with spirituality and just being faithful in the universe or in God, and just being trusting of like what's going to happen
and living in the moment, like
living present. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And it just leads to a more wholesome life for me.
Yeah.
For me. So
yeah, I agree. I agree. I wanted to talk about kombucha, because I was in exchange program in Poland with my girlfriend when it came out, and I just remember like seeing my phone and seeing that it was just released and playing it to my girlfriend, and she was like, "Wow, that's super dope." And I was like, "Right." And why the hell isn't kombucha in the radio and like everywhere? Like, what the fuck, man? Like it's really, I feel it's one of the like pop, like the greatest pop like albums or EPs that I've ever heard. Like,
whoa, that's cool of you to say, man. Thank you.
No, really, I really don't understand why it's not like everywhere. It's like it's very, very well done and very well produced, and the vocals and everything is like in place. And
thank you.
Why?
Yeah, well, to me, the way I see all this is like when it's, and if it ever, okay, so for a long time, I was really upset by lack of response on social media. My friends not sharing my stuff. Yeah. Why aren't they liking? I posted a video of this important thing today, and they're not even liking it. And what? I told them to comment. I told them it helps. Why aren't they like? I realized at one point that my music is weird. It's weird. It's not standard pop, even though it leans into pop. It's weird. And so when it's its time, it'll just pop off. And I think that's going to have to do with performing live. I think that's going to have to do with my music being weird, and it needs to like spread horizontally more than vertically at first, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so to me, my thinking is like Lizzo's album, for example, got popular. She released it in 2015 and she blew up in 2020.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
That's a recurring thing. So for me, it's like, how am I planting seeds now? Just keep planting seeds, because my music is not like super digestible pop. I think like my Momentum album, I think, was more for like listening to in a long car ride or alone. It's like a extended listen.
Yeah.
And so when people are ready for that, that's what it's like. If it doesn't happen, that's fine too. Like to me, it's just like, I want to do what I want to do, and I don't care. Like, what is fame anymore? Like I want to make money. That's what I want. I want to make enough money, and that's what I'm working towards. But like, do I care about, like, think about what fame is now. Fame is just lack of security now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is now, because you're either so famous that you can profit off of it and pay for security or not. And you're just like a TikToker, and you're like, your whole life is kind of disclosed for no reason. People hate you like that.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like what I've been doing is I've been mixing dope people like yourself and a bunch of other artists, and they come to me because my music's a certain way and they vibe with my music because of that. And over time, I'm just planting these seeds because I'm doing this a lot online. So they're from Georgia, they're from New York, they're from like different parts of California, LA, Yeah. So to me, it's like plant seeds. And I always tell this to everybody, just forget about plays, forget about any of that shit right now, because you could go buy Spotify plays if you want to. None of it means anything. You can buy Instagram followers. you can pay for marketing. Like none of it means anything. So what do I ask people, like, what do they want? Because if none of it means anything, then what do you actually want? You know? And I think what I want is I feel like music is one of my services to God, I guess, or the universe, along with mixing other people's stuff. And I'm trying to get over the vanity of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get over the, like, listen to me, I need to be listened to. You know what I mean? Like people will, the great art attracts people regardless. It's just it's just time, you know?
So you're like how do you say this? Your aim, to sort of say it, is like just putting it out there, and whenever it catches what it needs to catch, it will be like that.
And in the meantime, that's what matters, is what you do in the meantime, which is be the fucking like coolest friend, be like a good person to your friends, and be like in the industry and talk to as many people like you're doing, like as many people as possible, get to know, and just be that really friendly person that people know has the right values. Because I know, so one thing I know for sure is like my music's weird, but I have friends that are making some really good pop music, and they're going to blow up.
Okay.
And it's fine. Like they're going to share my stuff. I don't really care. Like, so to me, it's about helping everybody, because no one's doing well. Like right now, because of COVID, you know how many big artists are back with their parents? Like a lot.
Okay.
A lot of the big artists, like a lot of rappers over the last 2 years that have made like a bunch of money and spent a bunch of money are now back with their parents. And they're trying to make like big album, like long tracked albums just for plays at this point to make some money, you know?
Yeah.
But it to me, that devalues the art, you know?
Okay.
It's like when Lil Yachty releases like a 20-song album, I guarantee you he doesn't know the lyrics to any of those songs. Like it's literally because you click on plays and then he gets a lot of plays for people just listening to his album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To him, it's not about music. It's not about creating like good music that'll last a lifetime, that has actual like value, like other than monetary value. Which is, you know, you could go down that route. That's respectable, but that's not what I see myself or a lot of my friends even doing. So plant seeds.
Yeah. And if you had the chance of being signed to a label, would you do it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. If it was a good, the problem is the average label deal isn't good right now, because their labels are still kind of like fucking over artists these days. And even now. And so that's why everybody's independent. Most successful people are independent. But if there was like a very good label deal that I received, then yeah, I'd definitely sign myself to them. It also depends on benefits, because like, what does a label do these days? They'll push your music to playlists.
Yeah.
They'll pay for your recording maybe. And if you record yourself, then maybe that could be just, you know, fun money, like, or that could be just like money you made for your album. but they don't pay that much. And then they also, a lot of labels will sign a bunch of artists and push the one that just kind of does a little bit better and really push them, and then screw over a bunch of their other artists. And those artists, like, they don't get paid at all, and they don't get any sort of push from the label themselves, but they're signed to this label, so they're kind of stuck. You know, so it would, it would need to be a good deal, but I would be interested in that.
Okay. Are you familiar with with this rapper Ross?
Yeah.
Because I was watching, actually yesterday I was watching one of his interviews with one of the digital distributors podcasts, and his strategy was like, since I think 2011 he was like releasing a song per week or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was an interesting thing, and I thought like, oh, maybe I could do that, but I wouldn't, like, I don't know if I could do like a song per week, because I would like get too focused on each song being like very like what you say.
I wouldn't want you to do that.
Like, like I feel that if I did that like that, the songs would lose like some of the quality or their, I don't know, the message or. But I don't know, man. It's like it's like
success.
It's a dilemma, because you could actually live off of your music by doing that, but at the same time, you are like sacrificing like the quality and the artistic side. And
and that's a current modern day like working class music artist. It's like, to me, that's the same as someone that that really commits a lot of time to TikTok and starts doing well, which can be done. That's probably the best platform for that. But at the same time, they, like, some of them start giving away important parts of themselves and their own artistry. And like, even it goes as far as like, even I think it's like the current sellout mentality in a lot of ways, is just mass production of content. Keep throwing content. People need content. But I think that's also changing too, in that people are starting to be attracted more to mystery. And like, I think personally, I like, for example, on Instagram, I like accounts that don't post much, but when they do, it's like a big deal. Like Frank Ocean. Like Frank Ocean's probably the best example of like the type of artist that like goes in hiding pretty much his whole life until it's time to release an album, releases it, everyone freaks out, and then goes back. But yeah, I see what you mean. It's hard to make. You can't. I don't think it's very easy in general to make money off of plays. No. So the weekly song thing, maybe, but let's actually like break this down financially. So the weekly song thing, let's say Russ is getting, I don't even think he would get 100,000 plays on each song each week, right?
I have no idea.
I would say let's assume it's 100,000 plays. He gets 100,000 plays on each song for 4 weeks, four separate songs. Mind you, they're building up to 100,000 plays, and he gets paid twice a year for that. Actually, I don't even know how he gets paid.
No, I would assume he gets paid weekly on TuneCore.
Oh, on TuneCore. Okay,
yeah,
cool. So 100,000. So he gets around 400 a week for that alone. Now, could you do that? Okay. Is he he makes his own beats too, right?
Yeah, the thing with this guy is he produces, mixes, masters, writes, and engineers everything.
Yeah, that's a lot. But for hip hop, it kind of works because hip hop also has this sort of like hip hop beats are very 4-bar chunks, so you can make them faster. And then hip hop lyrics and just everything's very standardized in that he could just be like, I want to rap about this. Yeah. This is my message. Boom. Make a beat for this. Boom. Or I got a bunch of beats lined up and I'm going to start dropping things very soon. Boom. I think it works better for hip hop. I don't think it, and pop actually, any kind of pop. But I don't know if it would work for like indie or alternative stuff as much. Anything with real recorded instruments is kind of tougher.
I actually kind of liked his idea because my songs are like, I wouldn't release a song a week. I would do like one a month or something like that. Because my songs, I don't think of them like as an album. I always think of them like as separate entities, So I thought like, that might work. Like I might write them and then produce them and then like slowly each time like release one whenever it needs to.
A release kind of strategy is so personal, and dependent on the artist. But the Russ method, I think like a lot of people hear about this Russ method and try to replicate it themselves. And oh God, I don't know if I should be hating on it because it actually could work fairly decently depending on who you are. But to me, it's so like the TikTok mindset and the whole, like, as someone that's like had that mindset for a moment, it's too unhealthy for me. Like it's too unhealthy to like constantly be thinking about content and caring about how am I going to pump out this next thing. Like, for example, I'm in Denver right now. For partially because my music video people are here. And so I could like create videos, but I'm not thinking about it like content. I'm thinking about it like, do I have a song that could use a video that could use that kind of message, that has a message that could be pushed, rather than like, how do I create something for other people constantly? And how is this, we tie it into our careers. So then when it doesn't work, we start getting insecure. And we're like, is it our music that sucks? Is it the, is it the way we're delivering the content? Is it the quality of our videos? Is it my humor that's just not good? Like, it's so not freeing. It's so it's so draining of how you live your life. So to me, it's like, just make good art. But people are going to value it. People are tired of this bullshitty viral thing. It's going away. It's going to go away. Yeah. People want real quality like work now, and they could feel it. They could feel it when it's there. So, TikTok will always be there though. TikTok, like, it will be like, or some form of it, we need the quick carbs. We need the Gatorade, but like the sustenance, the meat, the potatoes, the vegetables, like those, that's what matters to me,
That's a good analogy.
The snack industry is huge. You can make a lot of money off snacks, you can.
It's hard, I know, being an artist and being in this world and being able to make a living out of it. It's, sometimes you're here, sometimes you're here, sometimes.
Yeah. And that's why I'm not making any money off music too. So I should make that very clear. Like, all of it's mixing, so like that. So that's the distinction. Could I translate into music? Maybe, but not in. I don't want to just be like the TikTok example is, you get big enough for a brand to come in and be like, hey, use our product and then talk about it for like a minute. and we'll pay you $500. And then people stop liking you, which is another weird thing. Because because like when someone gets, like my brother worked for Curology for a bit. He was an intern at Curology for their branding department, and they would literally do that. They would go to TikTok, big TikTok users, and give them branding deals of like $500, $800 to just shoot like 3 videos of Curology. But then what happens to these people is they make that money, and then they get another branding deal, and they get their 3rd branding deal, and then people just stop liking them because all of their content is like, unless they're really, really trying to keep things funny, or whatever, they start losing it. And it doesn't mesh well with like music, I think, and like more genuine art forms. Like, I don't think it meshes well. It meshes better with comedy. You can make more funny things out of like Curology commercials or whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah. So what was my point there? Oh, music, making money off mixing. Yeah. So to me, I like putting my focus into making money off mixing, particularly because it keeps me somewhat neutral in terms of like, how am I doing with my own music? How am I, where am I at musically, career-wise, or whatever? You know, it keeps me kind of out of that. It helps me separate from that. Yeah. You know, because man, I have friends who I'm not going to name right now, but you know some of them from Colombia that are going super hard on TikTok and are not necessarily being the best friends right now, or like or not, like they don't care. Like, the world is fucking burning, bro. Yeah. And they're like making stupid TikToks of like, you know what I mean? Like, so and then when you get a call from these people, which I have like 3 people that are like this right now, where it's all business, and it's like, do you not see what's you can't just call someone purely on all business anymore. I don't think, you know. So you can feel that mindset propagate into everything else, and it's like, it's the common sellout thing. And you know, I get it, you know, try to make money off what you do. I get it, but it's disappointing seeing that leak into personality a lot, because it's approval seeking.
I'm certain of 2 things. Like, for what I do, like, I would never compromise the artistic and, you know, expressive side of music when I make it, and I wouldn't like to become this egotistic, you know, person. And that's 2 things I'm very certain that I don't want to go to. You know?
And I think we're realizing we're taught a lot of like bad lessons, or at least I was, and a lot of people I know where we don't value the right things, like people and like interaction and like conversation, and we value things more like money and what we define as success. And you know, so it's like, what is, like, to these TikTokers, what success is a high number. You know, it's like a number of likes, it's a number of views, and that's like, I don't know, it's a fragile way it's a fragile place to build self-confidence. It's a fragile foundation to build confidence on. I'll say this, like, for myself, like, before this music video that I dropped, I was posting so much on Instagram just to really, like, just to get attention. And the reason why was because the group that made me this video, like, did it for a very good price because they're my friends. And I felt like I owed it to them to be successful with this video release. And so what I did was I went all out on like posting and whatever, and that's all good until it affects like how you think. And then I was like getting mad at my friends, and I was like, and it made me like, there was a point where I realized it, where I was like, oh shit, this is so unhealthy. Like, I'm ruining friendships because of like what I define as like success here, which in turn really doesn't equate to much, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, I think in the end, it all leans towards self-awareness, no? Like being, you know, conscious of the context you are living in and what surrounds you, and, you know.
It definitely does always go back to self-awareness these days. Yeah. We're getting there though. I have hope for the industry. I always tell people this, like, the industry is destroyed. The music industry is destroyed. What we know as the music industry is destroyed.
Yeah.
Gone completely. And that's fine, because it sucked. It was shallow. It didn't care about music. It cared about like a lot of the wrong stuff. And so, you know, Rome has been burnt, but like in the rubble, plant seeds, because the new industry that's coming, that we're already seeing happening, is built off of authenticity and love, and friendships and real relationships. And like, that's exciting, you know? So in the meantime, don't worry about likes. Don't worry about social media, just plant seeds, you know, whether that be meet up with that person you were kind of scared of, or like, you know, try something new, or pick up a new instrument. Like, just plant seeds right now. We're coming back, you know, just got to trust.
Yeah, I agree. Man, I wanted to like go to the final section with it, which is like a section of like very specific questions.
Sure.
So the first section is like tailor-made questions that I made for you.
Okay.
And then it's the final questions that I ask to every guest that comes to the podcast. So the first one is sidechain or arpeggiator?
Sidechain
compression.
Or wait, an arpeggiator compression?
No. Like,
or just completely like choose.
You can choose between sidechain compression or an arpeggiator. Like, which one would you choose?
That's like saying pork or broccoli. You know what I mean? Like, it's not completely okay.
If you had to choose one, like for, like, you could only stay with one of those for life.
Sidechain.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, arpeggiator. You can make an arpeggio. Arpeggiators are for laziness.
Right. Yeah. That's a very good point. Okay. The next one is Frank Ocean or Tyler the Creator?
Ooh, Frank. Any day. Yeah.
Okay.
But Tyler's dope. He's great. Yeah.
John Mayer or John Lennon?
John Mayer, but for like, people would hate that I said that.
Okay.
Okay. I know and I respect John Lennon, but John Mayer personally, personally.
Yeah, it's okay. The next one is, plugin wise, Sound Toys or Waves plugins?
Oh, Sound Toys for sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Sound Toys are the whatever algorithm or software they're using is just so good. Like, I think they're industry geniuses. Yeah.
They have very good ones.
Speaking of which, you should try Kush Audio. I always recommend them.
Kush Audio, okay.
Kush Audio.
Right.
I think you would like them a lot because they they emulate very natural sounding gear, like in an attempt to stay very natural sounding. So their saturations are very like organic. So it's like very organic compression, man. I think you'd like it a lot.
Are they expensive?
They're cheaper than Sound Toys.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check them out.
Yeah.
Okay, now the final questions. The first one is, if you could travel back in time to an era, like which era would you go to?
Could I be white?
Yeah.
That's always the... That's always the. I would be in. I mean, I would definitely check out the '60s. I would want to check out the '60s in America. But yeah, I'd also like to be white, so that'd be nice.
Why?
because I mean, the racial segregation of back then, the apartheid was still a thing. You know, not that was in America, but like racially, a very tense time.
So, like, you would like to have like the white perspective on the.
No, I would just like the safety of it.
Oh, okay. Shit. Okay.
No. I'm not thinking that deeply. I'm literally like this question. Man, this is so funny. I've heard that question so many times. Like, what era would you live in? And I mean, I wouldn't want to live in the 20s looking like brown. You know what I mean? Like in America, particularly.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that I don't know. It'd just be easier. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
During that time.
I understand. Yeah. So the next one is, what would have you studied if you didn't study music production or music?
Definitely something arts. I think it would be film.
Okay.
But I'm not visual, so I'd probably fail, but I think and then psychology, like something psychological, neurology. I also like I like health a lot, and I like
mushrooms.
I like biology a lot. Mushrooms. Yes. I would. Thank you. That would be my answer. I would be a mushroom farmer.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my answer. Thank you. I almost forgot.
Okay. That's very original and very cool.
Thank you.
Who would be like an artist, producer, or musician that you would like to meet and collaborate with?
Oh, Frank Ocean. Yeah, for sure. He's my top. I think John Mayer would be fun to hang out with too.
Okay,
that would be a cool artist to do something like that with. Yeah, I think those two would be my bigger ones. Frank Ocean, John Mayer. Pharrell is really cool.
Pharrell, yeah.
Yeah, Pharrell amazing. Would be cool. God, I always forget his name. Starts with an R, and he has a beard, and he has a podcast too.
I don't know.
I got it right here. He has a podcast called Broken Record. Have you heard of it?
No.
I think you'd like it. It's like a podcast going into like, where's his name? Kind of different artists and how they take on music. The Rick Rubin.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
That would be a cool collab. That would be the coolest collab.
Nice.
Or just, put Rick Rubin and Frank Ocean and John Mayer together. That'd be cool anyway.
Wow. That would be interesting, yeah. So the next one, what would be 3 things if you could say to a person, do not do these 3 things if you want to thrive, as an artist or as a musician?
Yeah, that's okay. Get rid of that competitive mentality when it comes to success. Maybe if it helps your playing, that could be cool. But competition, like music is collaborative purely, in my opinion. The competition, maybe competition for hip hop bars. That's where that kind of thing comes out cool. But I personally think like in the industry, one of the poisons in my life that I had to like really mentally kind of work out was being competitive with other people. And just learning, like, for example, not being competitive with other mixers when I hear like an artist is working with this mixer, or even like making an effort to be uncompetitive. Like, for example, one of my artists went to like she got a really dope like free session at Hyde Street Recording Studios in San Francisco, which I think may have closed down because of COVID, which is really sad. But they were a historical recording studio. Wow. And I could tell she calls me up and she like feels bad that she's like going there to get a mix done. And I'm like, no, you go get it done. And then she called me like midway through the session and she was like, hey, can you like come over here? Cause they don't know how to mix my music.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay. And, you know, and like the competitive, like if she said that to me at the wrong time, like a year ago before that happened, I probably would have been like a little salty. And then I would have been like, I don't want to come by and stuff like that. And, you know, but in like, just be anything that stops you from just being a good, friendly person, get that out of your system before entering anything industry related. Like those are the poisons to me. So that's one of them, I guess. Competitive. Yeah. Take care of your body as an audio engineer or mixer, because there's so many late night things, and there's so many with late night sessions comes alcohol and comes weed, and with that comes shitty food, and with that comes like waking up the next day and like feeling like shit, and then not working out or not. So you can get into cycles of bad habits so fast. So that's a big one. Is don't ignore your body when you're a mixer, or anything in the industry. And then the third one, I think I'm going to leave it at 2. I think those are 2 solid points for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So the last one, a documentary or a book that you would like to, or a podcast or something that you would like to recommend for, people who do what you do.
Totally. The biggest way I learned mixing, outside of like teachers and in-person things, was there's this podcast that is no longer airing new episodes, but they now have a YouTube channel called UBK, Happy Fun Time Hour.
Nice name.
Yeah, it's kind of a ridiculous name. I don't know why he named it that, but it's a mixing and mastering podcast, and they don't even play like examples of the things they're mixing. It's just purely conversation about mixing. And they do it in a really funny, entertaining way. So it's great for driving and all of that stuff, or working out. It's really good passive listening podcast, but they talk about the psychology of mixing so much in so much detail that it like completely shifted my perspective on how I mix things. 100%. And now he's doing a YouTube series called I think it's like late night. It's called like it's like a sexy mixing thing. It's weird. It's like a sexy take on mixing. I'll find it real quick. So it's by The House of Kush. So they made Kush Audio.
Okay.
And they have a podcast called I think it's just check out The House of Kush.
All right.
Like Kush weed, like it's spelled like that. And it's great. He breaks down the psychology of mixing and what he does to achieve certain things. Like one great tip he made that recently like stuck in my brain is if you want a mix to sound like blank, make one thing sound like blank. So fill in that sentence with anything. If you want a mix to sound very reverby, make one thing, not everything, one thing with a smacking reverb at the end of it. So like it's crazy because I just tried it out on my mix. I did I just put like a heavy reverb on one snare. That's it. And the whole mix sounds like it's just covered in reverb when you realize, it was just the snare. versus my normal thinking would be add a little bit of reverb to everything, you know, paint it like nice and light. No, you just smack one and it works. It's crazy.
Okay.
Same with compression. Same with if you want to mix the sound like very saturated, make one thing sound saturated. It's insane. It's a crazy tip. So that's a good resource. Books that have helped me a lot. I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
My favorite. Okay. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. That has nothing to do with audio, but it's like I was telling you about the competitive spirit and kind of being more collaborative as opposed to competitive. That kind of helped me with that kind of thing.
Okay.
Puts you more in a collaborative, work together kind of state of mind. Mastery by Robert Greene is dope. I like that book a lot.
Okay.
The Power of Myth. These aren't really audio related at all, but I like them a lot.
All right.
I think you would like the Power of Myth a lot. That's a good one.
The Power of Meth?
Myth.
Oh, myth.
This is America.
Okay. Yeah, I will check it out. Yeah, I think that. I mean, do you have anything you would like to share or something?
Not anything at the moment. I have some video stuff planned, but not anything at the moment. I'll keep you posted on that.
All right. So people can reach you out if they want some mix and masters, right?
Oh, yes. I should share that. Yes. Come to me if you need any mixing or mastering done. At Ego Mix on Instagram is the best way to reach me, actually.
Yeah. Watch out, because next week we have a very special guest. It is Fernando Grediaga, the marketing director from EMI Music Mexico. If you know Spanish, I recommend you listen to this episode. Es el episodio que tenemos con Fernando Grediaga, el director de marketing y artístico de EMI Music México.